morning, friends of Stephen. So, Stephen asked me to help him do some work this morning, and he is working with a lot of energy, and he's been working with a lot of energy his whole lifetime, and spent this lifetime figuring out how to work with a lot of energy and stay in relationship with others. And he's come to be aware that one's energies, when acknowledged, can be uncomfortable. So he was having an experience where he wasn't quite in himself yesterday. And he has been quite in himself, quite in his core, feeling grounded, working with various energies as they come up, working with them on screen so that others can see the possibility of what one can do when one is feeling a lot of energy. And there is a process that's referred to in these days, a process of that's called triggering, that some external circumstance or event or image or feeling or smell can set off memories of related to emotions that have been buried and held underground, held in control. And so this occurred yesterday, whereas the practices that Stephen has done over the past number of months, including breath work, followed by yogic postures, followed by qigong. I'm learning to work more with the energies of the body. So these have become daily practices, helping him to come more into his center, become more balanced, become more grounded. That's happening right now. So you're watching a video. I've been asked to be the spokesperson because Stephen wants to demonstrate the ease at which it's possible to change. And not get lost in the energies that are coming out. Because that's been part of the process, that once the emotional energies begin to move, then they tend to come out in a torrent. It just washes everything around. It's been a good image for Stephen to be doing these videos with this wave about to crash on his head. And that's somewhat what is felt. And so today, he's asked me to just start off and acknowledge his fear. Acknowledge his sadness. And acknowledge his anger. And so when these words were used, you might have felt a shift in the energy. Because in terms of healing from our ancestral traumas, we don't have to go into detail about what those were. All we need to do really is say a word like ancestral trauma or childhood trauma, and quite possibly those memories just come to the surface. So it appears we're going to start with the grief. And if you're starting to feel this grief rising in you, then you can make a decision that you want to learn how to allow this grief to come to the surface and how to truly let it go. These unresolved events in our ancestral history may have been a cause for suffering. Things that were done out of fear, things that were done out of anger, things that were done out of grief. You can feel them building. And again, when they build, they tend to make people want to take action as part of the process of these arising. With fear, it's referred to as fight or flight. I was moving everything slowly because of the intensity and the magnitude of the energies that are being worked with right now. And they're being worked with by Stephen. I'm helping him become more aware of what he is allowing to the surface to be released. So I'm being a friend. I'm feeling and listening with him as I'm doing with you and as he is doing with you. So we're just doing this thing together, and oftentimes people feel when they're having these things of the magnitude that they are feeling that they need to do them alone because they don't want to foist these energies on others. And so as a result, everybody thinks that they need to go through this process alone. And so you see people just sitting and rocking. They don't know how to stop it. They don't know how to start it. They don't know how to accept it. And one way that one can do this is to say, I accept what I'm feeling now. And something changed. If you said that out loud while you're watching the screen, I accept what I'm feeling now, you felt something change. Because when you accept something, you change it. Because the things we hold on to, we feel are unacceptable, even if done by our ancestors. Even if we didn't do the thing that we feel is unacceptable, we feel some ownership of the thing that was done that we felt was unacceptable. And so when we were gifted all of those things at birth, we were born with feeling. It's a big thing, can be a big thing, can not be a big thing to acknowledge being born into a traumatized world. And this has been a traumatized world. And this process of cleansing that was initiated by Abrahamanad in 1997 by his arrival has helped in that it's raised the vibration of the planet so that things are continuously brought to the surface to be released. And one can get to a place where they feel much more stable. And then in the next layer, they feel unstable. And so what would be useful for Stephen is to get to a place of feeling that he can let go of the mask. And so right now I'm asking him to say, I accept that. And he accepts that. And when one, develops skills at looking and seeing is really what is your focus. What is it you're looking for? And I would say you're looking for yourself. You're looking for yourself in others. And when you look at yourself in others, and you feel yourself in others, what do you feel? Yeah. Okay. So, we who are still here, we're going to release some energies. Now we're going to do that is we're going to acknowledge that all these things that we feel are simply stored energies. Notice what acknowledging that does. Just notice that. What starts happening for you? So, we're going to say it again. As the gunshots go off in the background, because it's hunting season. So the shots went off, boom, 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 and what was probably a deer might be a mother, might be a father, and then there are the feelings. So then there's many ways to work with this. One is an exercise that we've taught Stephen. That exercise involves noticing the story that comes with the feelings. So let's just work with the story that arises, where okay, so we're going to work with the story that arises for you. So there are these feelings which you're sensing that relate to possibly emotions that are unresolved. And so those emotions come to the surface, and you notice the story that you begin to tell. So you will notice your story, and the story, for Stephen arose out of the movie Bambi. And Bambi's, you know, parent was shot. And Bambi had to hide. And Bambi had to make it in the world alone. And feelings came up of fear, anger, grief. Those feelings, emotions, are carried in every one of us who are here in the world in bodies, who've had the experiences of loss. So I can be in the body because I carry myself into the body. And when I'm in this body, I just notice what's there, but I keep the centering in myself. And we could call this the deep self. We could go into this and begin to feel very gentle movement deep inside us. And at this point, it would be useful to state out loud, I ground myself to the healing center of the earth. I open myself to the healing power of the One. Any energies that I'm aware of that are no longer useful to me, energies that are from the past, that I've carried forward, but they're no longer of use to me as habitual ways to avoid what I'm aware of, I choose to let them go. Sometimes they move like this. Sometimes they move quicker. The only difference in what happens and what one feels, if one holds on to painful energies, and then wants to let them go but holds on to them, they're going to feel that resistance of letting go. They're going to feel that resistance of just being aware that they're holding on to these things that they could stop. Stop holding on to them. When you experience yourself do that, it might allow someone to feel some tears. And really, we love all these someones. But maybe because of a history of being afraid, we've kept ourselves apart. Because in relationship with others, there can be grief and loss. There can be anger. can be fear. So if we stay back, hold that at a distance, it appears to some to be safer. And in some ways, on some levels, there's accuracy to that feeling. It can feel safer, separate from the energy of others. And one remains separate from the energy of self. But when one lets go of the habit of suffering, one gives oneself the opportunity to go inside oneself deeply into the place of the deep self where there is no suffering. In that place, it's not that there isn't the suffering going on around, because there's still the feeling of suffering because one's resisting the emotions that are arising. But in that center of one's being is peace. And if you want to bring peace to the world, you do it by being in a place of peace at the core of your being. That exists. And then, just by staying in that core of yourself, that peace begins to move. And you might feel tingling begin because that numbness that was felt in the separation begins to dissolve. Stephen wants to jump into happiness, and I want for Stephen, for this experience, for Stephen to stay in peace. There'll be other things to recognize and be aware of and let go of from this place of peace. Okay, so as we sit in peace, the core of our being, in our deep self, noticing what arises and releasing, allowing the energy to move. Basically, opening the gate for the horses. And if you've never seen it, it would be useful for you to see the horses released from the corral into the springtime grass, and that joy and the opportunity to kick their heels up and run around and just celebrate life. It's a joy to see. And Stephen has seen this. And these are the feelings that he's having about being let out. So basically what I'm helping him to do is recognize that the gate is open. And you can either sit inside the corral wishing the gate is open, or you can look around and notice that the gate is open and there's nothing holding you back. Okay, so what I'm going to suggest to Stephen, and what I'm going to suggest to you watching this, is that you stay in the core of your being, in your deep self, in the awareness of your body, in the awareness of your legs, in the awareness of your abdomen, the awareness of your chest, your back, your arms, your neck, your head, your other head, your faces. And today, focus your attention on that feeling of freedom that you have been let out. So everything you do today will be from that place that you have been freed to be in, but because you have taken on the perception that you're free. And that freedom will grow as you stay inside yourself at the deepest level of who you are, connected to who you are at all other levels. And then we'll check in. For Stephen, now must go. Okay, so for me here, on some levels, by myself, I realize I need to go inside my deep self and allow those energies to move like I was just taught, as you were just taught. And yes, I've been taught this over and over and over again. And yet, some of us hold on to suffering as a habit. And some of us would rather not do that. So as my very dear friend, Lovejoy, how can you not back into my center, allowing the emotions to move without being controlled by the flood. What is happening in the world is a tsunami of emotions that have been held in. The dam has a crack, but the crack is allowing a lot of water to flow through. So staying in my deep self, as was advised by my advisor, this is doctoral programming, the programming of the doctor. Stay inside yourself. So I'm accepting that. I'm feeling the physical changes that are taking place right now by my staying inside myself. Yesterday, we sprung a leak. In this house that I'm currently residing, the downstairs bathroom and the sink, there had been starting this little dribble in the handle. And when you'd have the water on, that it would dribble down, but it was not too much of a problem other than it wasn't functioning as it was supposed to. And then a reminder, deep self. I had fixed similar faucets in the past, figured out how to remove the handle and then the piece inside that controls on and off, that keeps water running through the faucet when you want it to, and not running through the faucet when you don't want it to, and not running out of the handle of the faucet where it's not supposed to run out. I was asked by my host, the owner of said house, if this could be fixed. And of course anything can be fixed, but she was asking if this can be fixed by you, realizing that I was going to be having very busy days the next couple of days seeing clients, and then getting on a plane and leaving. So I did what I have done before, was just kicked into accomplishment mode. I'm going to go back and make sure in my deep self, grounded in the healing center of the earth and open to the healing power of the One. I had the feeling, the intuition, this should not be done. This should not be initiated at night. I overrode the system, went, searched out the tools, figured out how to begin to take this apart. And first one has to turn the valve that controls the flow of water up to the faucet. And when they haven't been turned on or off for a period of time, sometimes when you turn them on or off, they stop functioning and water begins coming out of them, which is the case that happened. Previously you had had a small problem. Currently, you have a larger problem. And when I discovered the larger problem, I went into a state of fight or flight. And I began noticing the choices that I make in a state of fight or flight. And I asked Arlen, could he help me? And he said, certainly. He said, begin to breathe. It's not necessarily something that you think about when you're in fight or flight and possibly running around like a chicken with its head cut off, or a grouping of deer with guns going off. So all of these things that are triggers can cause us to go into one of these states. So it can cause us to go into anger, which can come out as aggression, or we can go into grief, or we can go into fight or flight. Take action, take action. Or we can go into the center of self. And breathe. And make choices from that place of centeredness, of groundedness, of balance. And work with the situation that's at hand. So today, I'm choosing to continually monitor whether or not I'm in my center, I'm in my balance. And I'm moving through this world in a place of peace, noticing the clamping that has been in my head since this fight or flight experience that was pretty much all day yesterday. And as these guns go off in the woods, I go deeper inside. I release the fight or flight feeling I feel of the animals being shot at, of the war that's going on around me, of the survival of the fittest construct. Well, I have a weapon, and you're just food. Not from a place of judgment, a place where people are feeding their families through animals that occur in nature. In this maybe cycle of life. I choose peace, not a concept of what it is, but the feeling that I feel inside myself right now. Okay. good to be with you, and it's good to feel peaceful with you, with Arlen outside watching over, helping us heal.